The Chargers just lost in the wildcard round, and I don't honestly know what to say. Not only was it one of, the worst losses in Chargers history, but also one of the worst losses in all of playoff history. The Chargers were up 27-0 at one point in this game, and they would lose 31-30. So there's a lot that needs to be said. And like I do every single week, sadly, this will be the last time this year that I will be doing this, my instant reactions to this game. And the highest of highs and yet the lowest of lows all happen in about a 3-hour period. Chargers, as mentioned, lose 31-30. And before I get too far into this, I would like to say to all Jaguars fans, to all Jaguars in general, what a great game. Through and through. Even in the first half when it was rough, this was a great game to watch. And in the end, it was still a great game to watch, no matter what the outcome was. And I appreciate all the Jaguars fans. We genuinely kept it pretty clean through Twitter and all this stuff, and especially after Week 3 matchup, there was definitely a lot of trash talk going on, but it was pretty clean. Nonetheless, this will be primarily a rant, a little bit talking about the game here, but there will be a big rant here at the end. So first, let's go piece by piece through here. The Chargers lose 31-30, and the more I say it, the more ridiculous that sounds. In the first quarter alone, the Chargers had 3 interceptions. They also get another interception there before the half ends. They enter with 4 turnovers, maybe it was 5 turnovers in the first half, which is ridiculous. Asante Samuel Jr. has one of the best games ever witnessed by a defensive player in the postseason with 3 interceptions in his first ever appearance in the playoffs. 3 interceptions. That is insane. Drew Tranquill had a huge interception on a double deflected pass. This defense was buzzing in the first half, and somehow this defense looked like amateurs in the second half. But that's not where my problem is. Okay? My problem isn't with the defense. The defense came up with how many? 4 interceptions. Oh, and the fumble on special teams. And although this defense let up, a lot in the second half, they allowed 7 in the last drive of the first half, and all the rest of the points came in the second half. And although this defense definitely struggled, and part of it can be put on the defense, I'm going to say only 10% can be put on this defense. And you might ask why, and it's because the Chargers were up 27-0 on the Jaguars, primarily because of this defense. And you lose this game, and you score 3 points. 3 points in the entire second half. No touchdowns. And that's on the offense. And worst of all, I think most of the Chargers fans know who on the offense is going towards. And it's not even a player. This is Joe Lombardi. Time after time, in big games, in big important scenarios, Joe Lombardi goes conservative and costs, game after game, close games over and over again. And the Chargers lose this game, scoring 3 points in the second half. And that's all on Joe Lombardi. We had multiple 3-and-outs. We had, big-time situations where Joe Lombardi calls a screenplay on 2nd and 16, I think it was. He also called a run on, 2nd and 13. We see time after time, it's 1st and 10. What are the Chargers going to do? They're going to run the ball. This team, because of Joe Lombardi, is so predictable, is so conservative when they get the head start, which that's definitely what this was. 27-0, that's a head start. So conservative and just bland that the Chargers never are up enough to guarantee anything. And I'm going to tell you, entering the half, heck, even when it was 27-0, I was sitting in my chair watching on this TV right behind me, and I was sitting here, and I'm like, this ain't enough. Keep your foot down, because it wasn't enough. And I knew it then, and it's been proven to me now. This is preposterous that this even needed to be witnessed. This isn't preseason. This isn't even the regular season. This is the postseason. You lose and you're out. And the Chargers team lost in one of the worst ways possible. One of the worst games I've ever watched personally. In general, but also as a Chargers fan watching my favorite team, and this happens to them, I don't get it. So I'm going to say, before we jump into the stats, Joe Lombardi has to be fired. Does Brandon Staley have to be fired? That's kind of a different question. And I'm likely going to have a video on this within the next day or two. Probably tomorrow, I'll probably have a video on Joe Lombardi and Brandon Staley and Ronaldo Hill and who needs to be fired, who needs to stay, all that stuff. It's a long off season. It was 1 week shorter than last year's, which is great, but nonetheless, you don't do anything. The first playoff game in 4 years, 5 years, and you do nothing. So let's look at some stats here. And as mentioned, props to the Jaguars. The Jaguars deserve this win. Truly, the first half was incredible for the Chargers, but you could tell at the start of the second half the Jaguars were going to deserve this win, and they deservedly did so. In total yards, Jaguars 390, Chargers 320. I'm going to give you, first number is going to be Jaguars, second number is going to be Chargers, just so it's easy. Passing yards, 273, Chargers 253. Rushing yards, 117 to 67. And time after time, I noticed that Austin Eckler wasn't in there during the rushing game. It was Joshua Kelly. And although I am a big fan of Joshua Kelly, I think he's earned his reps. I don't know why Austin Eckler was pretty much held out. A big part of the run game also, Jameer Sawyer. I know he was dealing with injury, but he came back in after he was holding either his ankle or his knee. He came back in. And you end up pulling him for Foster Sarell. So, unless after this game occurs, there's some huge news of some bigger damage that occurs, there's no reason you're pulling Jameer Sawyer. Because the only reason that, other than injury, you're pulling Jameer Sawyer is so he's fully healthy for next week. Well, they're in next week now. So whomever's fault that is, I don't know. Big thing, Mike Williams doesn't play because Brandon Staley. And, I'm not too angry about that. Truly, yes, that sucks. Yeah, Mike Williams would have made a difference here. But yards per play, 5.6 to 4.6. First downs, 25 to 18. Third down efficiency, 20% for the Jaguars. And they still win this. Chargers 8 for 17. Fourth down efficiency, 2 of 3, 0-0. Total plays, 70 to 69. Nice. Sacks allowed, 2-3. And there was a lot of pressure, too, on Herbert, especially once you had Foster Sarell in there. Punts, 3 to 5. Penalties, 330, 7 for 42. And there were some pretty bad ones. Fumbles, 1-0. Interceptions, 4-0. Time of possession, the Chargers did win time of possession by 5 minutes. If we go player by player here, Trevor Lawrence, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. And I'm going to say those 4 interceptions, 2 of them were not really his fault. 2 of them were his fault, or really good plays by the defense. You can look at it however you want to look at. But the fact that he had 4 touchdowns is a huge props to that offense. To Trevor Lawrence, of course, props when deserved. But the fact that the offense coordinator was able to do that, you're not seeing Joe Lombardi do that. Justin Herbert, definitely the better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is likely going to be top tier, but Trevor Lawrence isn't at Justin Herbert status quite yet. And that's factual. Justin Herbert had 273 yards and 1 touchdown in this game. Ridiculous. Travis Etienne, 20 carries, 109 yards. The only running back to touch the ball was Travis Etienne. And you allow 109 yards. Including the end of the game there, where it was 4th and 1 foot. And you allow that huge 20, 30-yard play that ends up leading to that field goal because you go too much in on the quarterback. And yes, most people are expecting the quarterback. But that's something that you can't have happen. Receiving, Evan Ingram, 7 for 93. Christian Kirk, 8 for 78. Zay Jones, 8 for 74. Marvin Jones, 3 for 29. You were doing great at moving this ball around exceptionally well. Chargers had 3 sacks. Josh Allen had 1. Roy Robinson Harris had 1. And half sack split between Trevon Walker and Folo Runsu. Guys, I'm so sorry. I'm so bad with names. I'm trying, guys. I'm really trying. But I'm sorry. Chargers side of things. Austin Eckler, 13 carries for 35 yards. Horrible. Joshua Kelly, and a lot of those carries came on first down. Josh Quelly, 7 for 20. Receiving, Gerald Everett, 6 for 109. Great. Keenan, 6 for 61. I don't know if Keenan had a single reception in that second half. And yes, he was getting double teamed time and time again. But, I mean, you got to get the ball to Keenan. Palmer, 2 for 31. Parham, 4 for 23. Carter, 2 for 17. He dealt with the injury that pulled him out. I'm not sure if it was I think it was his ankle injury, which led to a lot of problems there. Michael Bandy had like a huge fumble on like a 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, which would have been Carter's play there. Bandy was returning kicks. Callahan was returning punts. A lot of things went wrong there. McKitty, 2 for 16. Eckler, 2 for 8. Why was Austin Eckler not in the pass game? Don't understand that. Oh, didn't mention Austin Eckler had 2 touchdowns. Everett had 1 touchdown. Defensively, not a whole lot going. You have half a sack from K9. You have 1 sack from Mack and half a sack from Sebastian Joseph Day. Joey Bosa had 0 sacks. Joey Bosa had 1 tackle. Yeah, he had a lot of pressure. He was a part of that first interception, tipping that pass. Sure, Joey Bosa brought a lot of pressure. And he was getting double teamed, triple teamed quite often. But, man, you got to see top plays from your top players in big board games. And we didn't see that today. Interceptions, of course, Drew Tranquill had 1. And Asante Samuel Jr. had the game of a lifetime. And I said Asante Samuel Jr. would likely be the, biggest improvement. And I think he might be my favorite player on this defense. 3 interceptions is insane. And he had the same amount of tackles as interceptions. And that's, yeah, he should have had more tackles. But that's kind of crazy to think about. And, I didn't even think about this until right now. Cameron Dicker the kicker, missed 1 field goal in the entirety of the regular season. And he missed a field goal on the last Chargers drive, like a pretty easy chip field goal, and he misses it. That would have put the Chargers at 33-31. That would have forced a Jaguars touchdown there, not a field goal. That would have been crazy. The Chargers are up 33. The best the Jaguars... No. The Jaguars would win with the touchdown, but they can't kick a field goal. And I believe that defense could have done enough to hold them out of a touchdown. So, I mean, Cameron Dicker, Spark Player of the Year, 100%, definitely deserved it. Incredible kicker, deserves a starting spot next year. But you'd like to get that kickback, that's for sure. But that's about it. I mean, there's not much to it. I'm sorry for not having a lot of energy here, but I think you guys all know why I don't have a lot of energy. Because that was the worst game ever. Chargers, 17 in the first quarter. 3 interceptions. 10 in the second quarter, and you allow 7 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you have 3 points the entire second half. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing here? And yeah, I'm pointing my finger at Joe Lombardi. Yeah, I'm pointing my finger at this offense. Because if this offense gets going, if Cameron Dicker gets that field goal, if the Chargers offense gets a touchdown where they got a field goal, if Herbert connects with Keenan Allen on that one in the middle there, if Keenan Allen and the pass to Keenan Allen from Herbert doesn't bounce off that defender's helmet, there's so many ifs here. There definitely is. Of course there is. There's always ifs. But man, you get a little bit more luck, because this team had a lot of it today. I mean, that special teams fumble off the helmet is insane. That's a whole bunch of luck. If you get a little bit more of it, you win this game 100%. But it caught up. The luck caught up to the Chargers, and they weren't able to hold in this win. So, I mean, we talked about the game. Dude, it sucks. This sucks. Jaguars fans, dude, props to you. I mean, well-deserved. Not a doubt in my mind. Let's keep it clean in the comments, Chargers fans and Jaguars fans. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on this, on both sides. But let's keep it clean down there. But outside of this game, Joe Lombardi has to be fired. I've been saying this since like week 6. Joe Lombardi needs to be fired. I wish I would have done it during the bye week. And here we are now, losing the game because of Joe Lombardi. If we're all being honest with ourselves. Joe Lombardi needs to go. Ronaldo Hill, I think he did a pretty good job with the defense. Yeah, I think Brandon Staley was calling a lot of the plays there. So you could keep Ronaldo Hill. Maybe you clean him out. That's, a choice. You have to keep this special teams coach. Have to. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. That's on me, guys. But you have to keep the special teams coach. And then the next question is, what do you do with Brandon Staley? I don't know, honestly. That's a video that I'll probably do tomorrow or the next day. Ryan Ficken is the special teams coach for the Chargers. I just wanted to say his name. He definitely deserves the respect. He's earned the respect. And I think Ryan Ficken, no matter what happens to the rest of the coaches, needs to stay on this team. But what do you do with Brandon Staley? There's a couple ways to look at this. For one, you just had the third worst, comeback in NFL history in the playoffs. Horrible. You have underperformed based on the odds for wins in a season both years. You end up losing a key player to an injury in the final game of the year. And your defense that you lead let up 31 points in pretty much a half because the last drive of the second half. There's the bad. The good, your first two seasons as a head coach, both of them are winning. Both of them are competitive. You almost make the playoffs last year and you make the playoffs this year. You are gutsy. For the most part, this team loves you. Yeah, there's been a lot of questions here and there. Keenan Allen tweets, all this stuff. But for the most part, these players seem to really like this coach. He reinvigorated this defense, turned that back half of the year. That's the good. There's good and bad, and I think they evenly outweigh each other. So it's up to the Chargers and what you're going to do next. The only way I say fire Brandon Staley is if Sean Payton is 100% on board with joining the Chargers, if the players are also out on Brandon Staley, and the trade to get Sean Payton isn't horrible. That's the only scenario, and I need all three of those scenarios. Even if the trade's not bad and Sean Payton's all in, but the players are still inside of Brandon Staley, you can't fire Brandon Staley because the players and supporting the coach is super, super important. That's something you don't get all the time. I find that almost more important than having a top-level coach is just the players believing in the coach. And we kind of saw that. So, that's my scenario where Brandon Staley gets moved out. And these actions might be happening really, really quickly. The Saints are already done, which means they can now make trades. Actually, I'm not sure how long you have to wait to make coaching-related trades. That's kind of a different subject, so I don't know how that works. Chargers season's done. These talks are going to be happening quick. Well, I think we're going to learn really quickly if the coaches are in or out, because if a trade happens, I don't think you're trading Brandon Staley to the Saints to be a coach. So I think Brandon Staley would likely get fired, and that would suggest you're getting Sean Payton. I'm going to be honest, man, I think Sean Payton is a great coach, but I do like Brandon Staley still after this game. So I'm on board with whatever happens because I'm a diehard Chargers fan. I forever will be. But, Joe Lombardi has to go. Ronaldo Hill is questionable. I don't hate him. I hate Joe Lombardi, but dude, this is tough. This is just horrible. I have gut rot at this point. I don't understand how you let this happen. 27-0 and you lose this game. How? And that's on everyone. I know I'm pointing my finger at Joe Lombardi, but that is on everybody. Everybody needs to. Justin Herbert, you got to step and be that leader. You got to come up with these plays, and you can't let these passes be batted down. Joey Bosa, you can't be throwing yeah, that was a false start. Yeah, you've been held all game. You can't throw a hissy fit like that. I'm a huge fan of Joey Bosa. Clearly, I have his post from the wall. One of my favorite players on this defense. One of my favorite players on the team. I love Joey Bosa. But you got to keep it together, man. At least get to the sideline. You also, I don't know what happened when he was talking to the refs here that led to that, whatever it's called, technical foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, whatever it's called. I don't know what's going on there, so I'm not going to talk about that. Defense, you got to come up with some big play in that second half. You played out of your mind in that first half. There's no reason you can't at least be close to that in the second half to come up with one last-minute stop. Offense, you got to score there. Get Keenan Allen in the mix. Get Austin Eckler in the mix. Coaches, you got to figure it out offensively and defensively. Dicker the kicker, you've been a legend all year round. You got to squeeze that in there. This is on the whole team. There's no one guy, one side of the ball that this is on. But that's it. That is the end of the Chargers 2022-23 season. And it did not end how any of us wanted to, and certainly not how we expected to after that first half. And it's sad. And it hurts. Hurts a lot. And whether I make a video on the Chargers tomorrow or not, it's going to depend on how I'm feeling in the morning after this. Because this sucks. So much. But that's it. If you enjoyed this content, whether you're Chargers or Jaguars fans, feel free to like and subscribe. It truly means the world to me, and I'm sure it would do a lot to brighten my day. And as always, I hope I taught you something today. I hope I made you smile. I hope I made you laugh. That is something that's really important to me. It affects most of this day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we all just put in the effort. And I mean that. Even with a loss like this, you can still make today a great day. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.